Hello everyone, and welcome to question 4 of the plant reproduction series. In this video, we'll be looking at the Northwest 2024 Provincial exam question. This question is worth 10 marks. 2.2 gives us a diagram showing the structure of a flower. Let's go through the labels. Label A is pointing to the stamen. Remember that the stamen, no, it's not the stamen, it's the anther. Right, let's go through the answers. So, we need to identify structure A. Structure A is pointing to the anther, which is part of the male reproductive organ. That being said, structure D is pointing to the stigma, which forms part of the female reproductive organ. Question B asks us to identify the process taking place at C. So we can see that those two structures are the ovules, and the ovules are contained in the ovary. And inside the ovary is where fertilization takes place. 2.2.2 asks you to describe the process of cross-pollination. So, for this question, we need to be very careful. It is important to distinguish or to write an answer that can distinguish cross-pollination from self-pollination. So let's look at how the marks are allocated. The first mark is for defining pollination. So pollination is the transfer of pollen. The second mark is for stating where this pollen comes from. So pollen is the male or contains the male gamete, and because it contains the male gamete, it must come from the male reproductive organ, which is the anther. So it is the transfer of pollen from the anther of a flower of one plant. Mark number 3, we're going to state where this pollen is going to. So this pollen is going to be transferred from the anther of one plant to the stigma of a different plant or another plant. The word another is very important in your explanation, as this is what sets your answer apart from defining self-pollination. So you cannot simply say that it is the transfer of pollen from the anther to the stigma. This answer would be defining both types of pollination. So you have to state that it is from the anther of one plant to the stigma of a different plant or of another plant. And then mark number 4 for stating that these plants are of the same species. 2.2.3 asks you to explain 2 adaptations of a flower for insect pollination. So this question has got 2 parts. Part number 1 is the adaptations. Part number 2 is the insect pollination. So I want us to isolate those 2 parts. I want us only to think of adaptations and insect pollination. So when you answer this kind of question, first you have to state the adaptation, which is usually a structural thing, and then you state how that adaptation allows for insect pollination. Not bird pollination, not wind pollination, but insect pollination. So you have to be very systematic in answering this question. So, adaptation number 1 is the presence of sugary nectar. Why does this allow for insect pollination? It allows insect pollination because it attracts the insects. Therefore, it encourages repeated visits by these insect pollinators. Do you see how we referred to the adaptation and we stated how that particular adaptation allows for insect pollination? So that is worth 2 marks. The question asks you to explain 2 adaptations. So let's mention another one. Adaptation number 2 is that the flower has bright colors or patterns. That's mark number 1. Mark number 2, how does this allow for insect pollination? It attracts the attention of insects. Or you could say it aids in the recognition of the flower to facilitate pollination. So again, we state the adaptation, which is the bright colors, and then we say how those bright colors allow for insect pollination. Point number 3, you could say that one adaptation is that the flowers have got large petals. That's the adaptation. How does that adaptation allow for insect pollination? It forms a landing platform for insects visiting the plant. So the second part of your answer must mention the insects. The first part of your answer must state the adaptation.